This is Alyssa Pong, class of 2023, reading for alumna Elizabeth Lauer, class of 1953. In early September 1949, I was directed to an office on the second floor of the barn to meet my counselor, Paul Bopel. I knocked on the door and was told to enter. 2 men, members of the music faculty, were seated at 2 tables. I asked which was Mr. Bopel, and one of them said that it was he. Then they laughed. The so-called Mr. Bopel then said that he was Julian de Grey. The other person was Paul Bopel. This was an unsettling beginning for me. At 16, from a small town in the middle of Maine, beginning to wonder if I actually should be at the college at all. I learned to navigate, of course. In particular, Julian and I became, after my graduation, close friends, such that he and his wife, Margaret, they came to my wedding in loco parentis, since my parents had disowned me, were thought of as grandparents to my 3 children. Priceless.
This is Uyen, class of 2024, reading for alumna Judy Jacobson McGee, class of 1958. When I was a student in the mid-1950s, the barn housed the library. I worked in the library and used to love discovering wonderful books.
This is Jasmine Hyman, class of 2023, reading for alumna Shannon Theobald DeVoe, class of 61. It was spring 1961. Ruth Currier was choreographing a new dance and needed a large space in which to work. Both the carriage barn and the common studio were booked. Thus, the space in the barn, which had been the library but had been cleared for renovations, became the rehearsal space. Unfortunately, no one had advised the wasps, which had taken residence in every corner. Every move incorporated an extra duck, lunge, or arm gesture to avoid a wasp encounter. Not an ideal space for the resident choreographer.
This is Julia, 24, reading for alumna Lisa Blake, 62. The Barn. How could life get any better, ever?
This is Grace, class of 2023, reading for alumna Mary Ann Staffney Meyer, 63. The real bookstore with a multitude of serious, stimulating books you could actually buy. With friends, we spent hours there, purchasing books for class, deciding which books we could afford to buy later, and experiencing the excitement of browsing. Haunting good bookstores is still one of my favorite things, and yes, I still read hardbacks, but also find online offerings tempting. This is my archaic memory of a time long past, but one I cherish.
The following memory was submitted by Sandy Perlmutter Greer, class of 1963.
My most vivid memory of the barn was the organic chemistry lab, where I spent almost my entire freshman year, it seems to me. It was a pretty difficult subject for a 16-year-old freshman, and there I was in the soup.
The following memory was submitted by Randy Denker, class of 1972.
My favorite memory of the barn was the night that some friends and I went in after hours when it was closed, and we strapped on roller skates and roller skated all around on the wooden floors. I guess you were hoping I was going to say something academic and highbrow, but nope, that's my favorite memory.
The following memory was submitted by Devora Krita, class of 1976.
The most significant turning point in my intellectual life took place 46 years ago in Alvin Feynman's seminar on Paradise Lost, held in an upstairs classroom of my favorite campus building, the Barn, whose red-cladded beauty against white snow, interior fragrance of old wood, even the tactile pleasure of whose old wooden staircase banisters and seminar tables softened by time. From the classroom window, I would look toward my favorite campus haunt, the pond. I never spoke in that seminar without Alvin's inviting me to, because I felt intimidated in the presence of a coterie of self-assured male literature students whom we called the Lit Boys. But Alvin valued my mind and always did invite me to share my insights. One day, Alvin saw in my eyes that I wished to ask a question, but I feared to reveal my ignorance to the lit boys. He said softly, "Ask your question." I whispered, "I'm afraid." Alvin replied, "Don't be afraid." That was the moment in which I gained my intellectual freedom.
This is Jose Pereira, 2024, reading for alumnus Michael Falk, 1977. I worked in the food service for 4 years under the work-study program. After doing my time, 2 or 3 years in the dish room, I was given the pleasant assignment of preparing afternoon tea for the secretarial staff, every day I think, in the little kitchen/lounge upstairs in the barn. 90 minutes a day, 20 and 30 minutes of prep, 45 minutes to study in the lounge while they socialized, 15 minutes to clean up, and a dozen or so leftover fresh-baked cookies to take back to my dorm room. It made me very popular. They called me their tea boy. Sweet gig.
The following memory was submitted by Monica Church, class of 1987.
I remember the smell of the barn when I walked in. It smelled like old wood, and I loved cutting through on my way to Vapa, the small gallery that used to be in the corner. I loved seeing who had work up in there, and it always got me excited, and it felt like that work was somehow real because people in the administration saw it.
This is Nat, class of 2025, reading for alumna Larrabee Fellows 01. In 1996 and 1997, I worked for the July program, making photocopies and managing keys for the JP office in the evenings, a few doors down from Barn 1. Fieldwork term 1999, I had a bad experience with an internship and returned to campus early. I would curl up in the second floor nook, the wooden seat, overlooking the courtyard of the barn, and read. I read the first Harry Potter that winter, and it gave me hope that imagination would be useful again. Circa 2000, Barn 1, I remember watching our beloved professor, Carol Symes, do a puppet show version of Wat Taylor and the Peasants' Revolt in our medieval history course. Graduation 2001, a classmate of mine accepted his diploma wearing only a see-through apron and hugged Liz Coleman in the courtyard of the barn. Another classmate mimed biting her in the neck. She laughed. Oh, graduation. Oh, the barn.
My name is Katie Hibner. I graduated in class of 2020. The barn houses the heart of Bennington College. I feel that way because of the creaky wood floors and all of the excitement and flurry of activity in there and all the creaking that followed. I also really appreciated the small classrooms. No two classrooms were the same. Each one had their own shape and special character, and just the traditions and memories that I felt had been passed down through generations at the barn were something very special. It just reminded me of the uniqueness of a Bennington education, I think is kind of embodied in the distinct character of the barn and its many parts.